A key component of the modern world economy, the chemical industry delivers products and innovations to enhance everyday life. It is also an industry in transformation, where chemical executives and workers are delivering growth and industry-changing advancements while responding to pressures from investors, regulators, and public opinion. Discover how leading companies are approaching these challenges here on The Chemical Show. Join Victoria Meyer, president of Progressio Global and host of The Chemical Show, as she speaks with executives across the industry and learns how they are leading their companies to grow, transform, and push industry boundaries on all frontiers. Here's your host, Victoria Meyer.
Hi, this is Victoria Meyer. Welcome back to The Chemical Show. This is a Thursday quick hitter episode where I touch on a relevant business topic for you and your business. Today, we're talking about the importance of engaging your employees to create strategic success. Now, on episode 112, I talked about the importance of engaging your customers early to help de-risk your strategy and ensure your success, whether it be entering a new market, building an asset, etc. On today's episode, we're turning it a bit inward. What I'm talking about today is the importance of engaging your employees early and bringing them into your strategic decisions. One of the biggest challenges for executives across all industries is developing a vision and a strategy that their organization understands, embraces, and executes upon, ultimately driving shareholder value. In a post-pandemic world, the need for strategic change has intensified and accelerated, right? So we are being buffeted by influences that we talk about a lot on The Chemical Show. Geopolitics, inflation, a drive towards sustainability, circularity, and green, shifting business models, digitization, talent challenges, and more. All of these require a robust vision and strategy for your next decade and more, a vision that we take and we understand and embrace from the top of the organization to the bottom. Without getting this right, companies and executives risk losing market share, people, and profits. And this is a challenge, right? So, what organizations often don't realize is that this focus on top-down strategy, which many companies still today and for a long time have embraced a top-down strategy and execution through metrics and measurement, it can risk your business performance because it masks some of the underlying issues of the organization and what it means when they don't fully understand and embrace the new business strategy, right? This is a blind spot. It is a blind spot for executives because for decades, you've been told that you alone are responsible for strategy. And the rest of the organization is about execution. So think about this. We've got chief strategy officers who are often disconnected from the organization, or as a business leader, whatever your title, VP, president, executive, director, business leader, you're charged with strategy for your business and your division. We think that it requires confidentiality, and sometimes it does. We often think that it's on our shoulders alone or on the shoulders of just a small group of trusted advisors. It is, and it isn't. And what ends up happening, however, is that we create strategy in isolation without bringing the organization along. And when we don't bring the organization along, it's doomed, right? So execution, which is the most critical part of every strategic exercise, execution without full understanding, alignment, and buy-in from your organization, from the people and your teams, is doomed to fail. And it's only when leaders engage the broader organization early in the strategy process to co-create strategy and the metrics that true strategic change is possible and that you can really accelerate your results. So a recent study published by the Harvard Business Review showed a gap of 59%, which is shocking, between what executives believed to be the strategic alignment. So, like, oh, we're aligned, and what employees actually understood about the strategy and its execution and how they were intended to interact with that. Even amongst executives and executive teams, there's a disconnect. But if you think about this, if there is a 59%, let's just call it 60% gap in understanding, it's going to be hard to get 100% of your results. And I think one of the challenges, as I've already talked about, is that strategy is often a top-down exercise owned by the leadership team and is created by a small group. Those individuals are vastly familiar with it. In fact, they've forgotten some elements of what they knew about it, but they know it, they understand its intricacies, and yet they take it out to the organization. Whether it be in a large or a small fashion, there's a lot of different ways that people roll out their strategic changes or their new strategy and vision. And they spend, I don't know, a couple hours, maybe one day, maybe 3 days engaging with their organization on something that took 3+ months to create. Is it any wonder there's a disconnect, right? And so what I find interesting is that studies show that individuals, adults, need to hear something 7 times, 7, before they fully understand it and remember it. So it is no surprise at all to me, and it should be of no surprise to you, that if we're doing a one and done rollout, your employees, your key leaders don't understand your strategy and its goals, and therefore can't execute upon them and achieve results. I personally have seen this many times with myself as I go in and work with companies and leaders who are really stumped and trying to figure out, why aren't we getting this execution? Why aren't we getting the strategic results that we're trying to get? And often they've developed a vision. They've developed what they see as a strategy that they want to use to take their organization forward for the next 3, 5, 10 years. And they don't understand why the organization is not embracing it, why they're not moving more quickly, why it feels like there's resistance, and why they're not seeing results. And one of the first questions I like to ask is, well, I ask the executive, have you rolled this out to the organization? Do your people understand the strategy? Inevitably, yes, right? And so remember, going back to this Harvard Business Review study, which, by the way, I'll link in the show notes so you have access to it. Executives think their organization understands, but there is a huge gap, 60% gap, right? Because then I ask the executive, like, yep, everybody understands it. It's been rolled out. And then I go and I ask employees across the organization, including senior leaders, have you seen this new strategy? Do you understand it? And the answers run the gamut from, no, I've never seen it, to, oh, I saw it just once. We had a lunch meeting about it. Or, oh, is that what it was? There is disconnect, and that doesn't have to be the case, because strategic disconnect means lack of strategic results, right? Strategy is successfully executed when team members really understand the goals, the context, and the outcomes desired, and can tie their own personal activities, their team's activities, and initiatives and goals to support that strategy. So how do you do that, right? So there's a lot of different approaches on this. I'm going to tackle kind of just 4 things. Number 1, create shared context. There is a reason you as a leader are implementing and driving a new vision, a new strategy, heck, the same one, just refined a little bit more. There's a reason behind it. You have to create that shared context, though, right? So that everybody understands the reason behind it and where you're going. How do you do that? Make it personal, right? Make it personal and relevant for your team members. Bring key team members into the strategy setting process early to provide input, to create that shared context, and ultimately let those leaders help identify optimal steps and directions that their teams need to take to achieve the strategy. By the way, when I'm talking about leaders, this is not necessarily just about title. It's also about influencers in your organization, whatever their job description may be. You know who they are. In every organization, in every group, There are people that are leaders and influencers despite title. Engage them, understand them, help bring them into your strategy and your strategy setting process to create context and ownership. Why do we do that? Number one, it builds buy-in. Number two, it creates ambassadors. It's great to have people across the organization say, yep, I know where we're going and what we're doing. Come along with me, right? You need a team of people to do that. And it also helps you identify risks and alternatives. You think and you see things from different perspectives, right? So if you think about it like a Rubik's Cube, right? Everybody you bring in has a different flavor on it and a different insight. And bringing those insights in makes your strategy more robust. Number two, make strategy execution the job. So number one, could be a role, like, true legit role that somebody's got this role of implementing that strategy and executing it. But the other piece is making sure it's clearly part of people's goals, that they have time allocated, that they have incentives allocated to that work. It can't be an add-on. It might have to be an add-on, but you also have to reflect, depending especially on the degree of change involved. You need to create space and accountability for people to execute upon that strategy. The third thing, make it relevant. And studies have shown that when you focus on customer value, when you can create a story about how this new strategic implementation, this strategy, this approach drives customer value and shareholder value, people buy in. Focus on impact to customers, impact to your employees. When you create that focus on customers, on customer value, on employee value, on shareholder value, strategic alignment results. And your actual results, your financial and fundamental results increase dramatically. And then the fourth thing, make it continuous. Strategy is not a one and done exercise. Strategy, communication, and engagement is not a one and done. Again, studies show that individuals need to hear something 7 times, 7, it's a lot, before they truly understand it and remember it, and then can take action upon it. So engage your employees. Get them to the point where they say, aha, I get it. I get it. I understand it. I feel like I've been included. I feel like I can embrace this strategy, and I know what my role in doing this is. It is only when everyone across your company engages with and understands your strategy, their role in it, that true results occur. So that is my message for you today. Would love to hear from you. If you are challenged with getting your strategy executed, reach out to me. Let's have a conversation and talk about how we can come in and help support that and get more engagement, more realization, and more results out of your strategy. Thanks for listening today on The Chemical Show. Keep listening, keep following, keep sharing, and we will talk to you again soon.
We've come to the end of today's podcast. We hope you enjoyed your time with us and want to learn more. Simply visit thechemicalshow.com for additional information and helpful resources. Join us again next time here on The Chemical Show with Victoria Meyer.